One of Europe's most emblematic industries, known for innovation, tradition, and economic prosperity, is now at a crossroads, facing unprecedented challenges that threaten its very foundation. The landscape of European car manufacturing is undergoing a dramatic transformation. Recent announcements from car giants have sent shockwaves through EU countries renowned for their automotive prowess. Ford has made the tough decision to slash a significant portion of its European workforce, about 14% of all jobs, primarily in Germany and the UK. Audi, a symbol of German engineering excellence, will shut down its Brussels factory by February 2025, a stark indicator of broader industry trends. Stellantis, facing a 40% drop in market value, saw its CEO Carlos Tavares resign in late 2024. How did all this come to pass?
Of all the car manufacturers in Europe, most of them, the majority of them, are operating at only 33% capacity, which is a complete disaster if you think about how to make a profit out of these things if you're building cars. You're paying 500k, 750k just to keep the lights on, and we're talking like a week here. You need to be manufacturing all the time at a high volume, at a high scale, and it just isn't happening. And we're seeing closures of factories. Here in Brussels, they closed the Audi factory. It's not the first, it's not the last.
The car industry's woes aren't just market-driven. The European Union's stringent regulations are adding to the strain. Many believe that the European Union's decarbonisation strategy, especially the policy shift in 2016, has driven the bloc's industries to the edge, particularly the car industry.
We choose a strategy which is to ban fossil fuel and ban nuclear energy. So if you continue with this strategy, nothing will change. So it's why I say that it's organized. The decision was that we want to ban nuclear energy, not in all countries, but the more influential country and the European Commission want to ban nuclear energy. But everybody tried to say we will replace fossil fuel with renewable energy. So it's a policy, it's a decision. So everything is organized around that. It's not by case. It's the organization of the EU that want to kill fossil fuel in Europe.
The European Commission's push for electric vehicles to meet green targets has badly affected EU car manufacturers who have traditionally made combustion engines. Under new EU regulations starting in 2025, manufacturers must reduce average emissions of new cars by 15% compared to 2021 levels or face penalties. This is the first step towards net zero emissions by 2035, effectively banning the sale of petrol and diesel cars. Local and national regulations have added another layer of problems.
The transition is being compelled by European Union and domestic regulations, moving away from internal combustion engines, which has been the core competency of the European car makers, especially in Germany, for decades now.
Many cities like Brussels have become low-emission zones, meaning they gradually ban the circulation of polluting vehicles. Such rules can have dire consequences.
les gens ne savent pas quoi acheter. À cause de Bruxelles avec le lez, ils ne savent pas s'ils doivent acheter diesel, essence, hybride ou électrique. Donc oui, maintenant, on vend moins qu'avant le Covid. Mais ici, en 2024, on a vendu déjà plus que 2023. Mais on va chercher d'autres marchés comme l'exportation ou quoi. Parce qu'on doit vivre et voilà. Donc les Euro 5 diesel qui sont finis, mais les essences peuvent. Les gens ne savent pas. Et même quand on va sur le site du lez, c'est contradictoire par rapport à la région de Bruxelles, par rapport au lez. Donc il y a des trucs où les gens ne savent pas quoi acheter. Et les normes euro, il y a Euro 6D, 6D Temp. Enfin, les gens sont perdus. Une vente sur deux, je vais expliquer aux gens jusque quand ils peuvent rouler en montrant les papiers et tout ça. J'ai un tableau tellement c'est compliqué.
One of the main problems is the lack of infrastructure to support the technological revolution that the European bureaucracy has proposed.
There's no country now that possesses the infrastructure needed for the total electrification of the car industry. And as a matter of fact, if everyone started driving EVs tomorrow, it would crash the electrical network. And as you also know, Europe has a problem now with high energy costs. So the more electrification, the more that you have to have that infrastructure, the more demand you have. And unfortunately, the variable supply provided by renewables is not suitable for mass electrification. You have to have reliable base load energy, which means either gas or nuclear. So you're caught. If you want to make the full transition, it's going to make it that much more difficult to electrify your car industry.
The German car industry, the heart of European automotive manufacturing, is facing a potential loss of 1 in 4 jobs in the next decade. The mood is increasingly bleak.
An dem plastischen Beispiel will ich Ihnen festmachen, wenn Sie einen Antriebsstrang von einem Verbrennerfahrzeug mit dem eines Elektrofahrzeuges vergleichen, da sehen Sie schon, dass Sie für den Elektromotor viel weniger Teile brauchen. Weniger Teile bedeutet weniger Zulieferindustrie. Weniger Zulieferindustrie bedeutet weniger Maschinenbau. Ja, also die Maschinen, die hergestellt werden, um diese Teile herzustellen. Also das ist völlig wahrscheinlich zu wenig berücksichtigt worden, dass eben diese Klimapolitik, diese Förderung von Elektromobilität auch ein Problem ist, nicht nur für die Automobilindustrie an sich, sondern für viele, viele daran angeschlossene Industrien. Und das ist eigentlich aktuell unser Hauptproblem, dass wir dort auf dem falschen Weg sind. Und ich hoffe, dass doch die Vernunft einzieht in Europa, in Deutschland, dass wir dem Verbrenner, was ja derzeit beendet wird, 2035 offiziell, dass das doch zurückgenommen wird. Und also ich bin ganz klar für eine Weiterentwicklung, Technologie offen im Verbrennerbereich, weil die Autoindustrie ist nicht nur in Deutschland, aber auch besonders in Deutschland eine Schlüsselindustrie.
On the ground, panic is palpable. EU electric car sales are down, notably in Germany. EV registrations in the EU dropped by 43.9% in August 2024, driven by declines in both Germany and France.
Électrique, ça se vend pas du tout. Donc le marché électrique, je crois que c'est 3%. Donc déjà en neuf et en occasion. Donc c'est principalement des sociétés qui achètent l'électrique. Et le diesel, c'est encore pour les gens en dehors de Bruxelles qui roulent pas mal. Les gens de Bruxelles, ils achètent de l'essence.
Et pourquoi vous pensez que les gens n'achètent pas d'électrique, de voitures électriques?
Les autonomies trop faibles. Allez, on va mettre 50 000 € dans une voiture pour faire 150-200 km. C'est pas assez. Les petites, j'en ai vendu quelques-unes, des Fiat 500 ou des choses comme ça. Mais c'est des budgets à 20 000 € en occasion, donc ça se vend. Mais voilà, ça se vend. La dernière, j'ai mis 6 mois à la vendre, donc c'est pas comme si c'était facile. Et ouais, elle est restée 6 mois et on n'a pas touché quelque chose au prix. C'est juste qu'il n'y a personne qui voulait de l'électrique, quoi.
You get, okay, environmental concerns are important. What about hybrids? We can reduce these emissions almost 100%, 95% reduction in emissions, but that's not good enough. That's not ideologically pure enough. And so we have these mandates around electric vehicles, and you have to change these factories. In general, if you change a factory, if you adapt a factory, you need to manufacture the same model for 7, 8, 9 years in order to make a profit. But there's no consumer demand for electric vehicles. No one wants to buy these things. And what we've seen across Europe is member states had to put subsidies on the electric vehicles to create demand. These have now run out, and now there's no demand.
Even forward-thinking companies such as Volvo, which had set a target of producing only electric cars by 2030, have now abandoned the goal. This reflects mostly consumer hesitance. One of the European car industry's weaknesses has been its decision to focus mainly on wealthy customers, whereas Asian manufacturers have managed to offer products for a broader range of clients. The problem, especially for German brands, is that now the mass market is already used to buying non-European cars.
Again, you talk about market segmentation, and the Germans can retreat into the luxury segment. They're still going to sell cars to people to whom that appeals. But that's not the mass market. If you want to maintain employment, you have to compete more where Volkswagen, for instance, is. And that is the end of the market that is being eaten alive by their foreign competition. So in the United States, that end of the market is dominated by say Honda and Toyota and Mazda, and Volkswagen has a hard time competing with that. The Chinese, of course, view the European market as an apple to be plucked. They are firing up their export engine to solve their own internal economic problems, and invading Europe with electric cars is one way they're going to do it. So do the tariffs give the European car makers a chance to make this transition? Well, maybe, but it's fairly obvious that they're being dragged kicking and screaming into an electric vehicle future because they're behind. They don't know how to do it. Volkswagen has just cut a deal with Rivian just basically to get their hands on the software that makes a Rivian vehicle basically sexy to consumers.
Amid these escalating challenges, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has realized something needs to be done. This is what she had to say.
I have decided to convene a strategic dialogue on the future of the car industry in Europe. This dialogue and its follow-up will be under my leadership. We will bring together all stakeholders around the table to listen to each other and to design solutions together as this industry goes through a deep and very disruptive transition. Europe's car industry is a European pride. Millions of jobs depend on it. And together we have to make sure that the future of cars will continue to be made in Europe.
Industry leaders have long warned of the growing pressures of wavering consumer demand.
J'ai vendu dernièrement une voiture qui avait 7 ans, une Tesla qui avait 7 ans. On la laissait 15 jours dans le showroom, elle perdait 50% de la batterie. Je veux dire, en restant à l'arrêt. Donc, ici, une voiture, celle-là récente en électrique, elle ne bouge pas la batterie. Donc, oui, il faut voir l'évolution de l'électrique, ce que ça donne. Mais pour le moment, je ne pense pas que l'électrique soit le futur.
The question remains, can this so-called dialogue move beyond political rhetoric and actually implement real decisions? Or is it just a symbolic gesture in response to mounting pressure to act? Is there a solution?
the transitions are always very hard, and economists like to use words like redeployment of capital. What that actually means is inflicting a heck of a lot of hardship on the workers and the other people who are dependent upon the legacy system. So if you redeploy capital by, say, building new factories in Romania, that is going to hurt Germany a lot. If you embrace new technologies, that means that the machine building industry, meaning the engine building industry in Germany, is going to decline, and that is going to hurt a lot. But you can embrace the future. The European Union is still sitting on 450 million well-off consumers. That is a big market. But I think that the great export boom that has driven the German economy over the past 25 years is now ending, and that is going to hurt a lot. The Chinese market is becoming mature. The Chinese government has pretty much made it clear that loyal Chinese citizens should be driving Chinese-made cars. Yeah, the American market has been mature for a while. In order to protect your market share, you've got to spend an incredible amount of money on marketing and advertising, much less grow your market. So I would say that transitioning to a market that is much more focused on those 450 million European consumers is where we're heading.
The EU car manufacturing sector stands at a critical juncture. The narrative isn't just about potential collapse, but about profound transformation, resilience, and the search for a sustainable path forward. The car industry must adapt, but this means that policies need to be changed.
One of the most difficult things of a human being is to recognize that you are wrong. It is a normal behavior of human being. We doesn't like to admit that we make a mistake. And for the time being, the EU have not admitted that we are wrong. Until the moment we admit globally that we have made a big mistake in destroying our competitiveness, nothing will change. Nothing will change because we have so much since 2016, I return to this date, 2016, convince everybody in the EU, including small children, that we are right in what we are doing. So it's a complete brainwash. And you know that in history, it's not the first case. Not looking too far away, we had in Europe at least two similar stories in the 20th century. That we are convinced we are right, all the others are wrong, and so the EU will continue, I'm afraid. Until the moment that we will be realizing that it is far too much and we need to stop. I think that we will stop, but probably not during this Commission time. It's too early or too difficult to pass from the Green Deal to admit that the Green Deal is a destruction.
The question isn't, is the EU's car manufacturing industry collapsing, but rather, how can it evolve to confront its myriad challenges? The road ahead is uncertain, and Europe's car industry must navigate a complex web of policy, technology, and global competition.